All right. Today's conversation is for the mom who deeply wants to respond differently, but sometimes still feels herself pulled into fear, reaction, or overwhelm. I'm joined by Amanda, an intuitive guide and mentor who helps mothers reconnect to their own inner wisdom while learning how to regulate their nervous system in everyday motherhood. So, Amanda blends nervous system awareness, energetic healing, and embodied motherhood to help women build emotional safety. So, not just for their children, but within themselves first and foremost. So, because her belief is simple but powerful, a regulated mother changes the emotional atmosphere of an entire home. So, Amanda, I am so glad you're here.
I am happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Mackenzie.
Of course. All right. Well, we have some juicy questions that I want to get to. And I know my audience wants to hear from you as well. So, my first
Yes.
question is a lot of moms hear the phrase regulated parenting right now. Like, I feel like it's a buzzword going around, but what does that actually look like in a real life when you're tired, you're overstimulated, and your child is having a meltdown?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It is such a buzzword right now, and a lot of people will, which I also want to preface like mindful parenting, right? So I feel like it also goes hand in hand with mindfulness and conscious parenting and just, really being aware of kind of what's going on in the moment, right? And just kind of being present. And then there's also when you say nervous system, there's also this like regulation piece where we talk about being embodied, um like being embodied, like feeling it in your body and then actually like putting it into practice. And see, the thing is I feel like I'm so freaking able to talk about this and because I have been the mama, I have been just me and my son since day one. My son is almost 5, and he has never left me. He's left me for maybe 30 minutes of his entire life, and that was probably twice when I went to my local gym, like in my apartment complex where my sister-in-law watched him, and I went and like got a workout in. And yeah, so so if anybody can embody nervous system regulation and just being in ownership of our own energy, I really feel like I'm the one to be able to talk about it. And really, I mean, I just feel like being aware, yes, like that's an important piece, but like, what are we doing to be aware? Which, of course, has its, there's so much that goes into that, right?
Yeah. What would you say is like, somebody who is just like getting introduced to this? Because I feel like that's a lot of where my audience is like we're like nervous
Yeah,
system is like just a new, like we said, like buzzword, like it's starting to, like
yeah.
this awareness is starting to bring to the surface. So like just
Mm.
starting out in a journey, like how would you describe like finding that? Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, you know, kind of like take 5 minutes and like do an inventory of sort of like what what areas or like what ways do you get frustrated, like what makes you you know pop off, what makes you get want to feel like you want to scream. And I feel like a lot of times it's really, as we know, motherhood is an initiation. Once we give birth, like all of the inner child work comes up, like we're healing our inner child, and a lot of us, depending on just how, I'm 44, so I do feel that I also have somewhat of a leverage because, I knew that I was going to be an older mother. Like I did a lot of the inner healing work prior to becoming a mother. So I do feel like I had that, that wisdom to be able to kind of show up and have those expectations of like, okay, well, yeah, it's a baby. Like he's not gonna necessarily like he's gonna be waking up every so often to nurse, and like this is just a part of being a mama. And just really like settling into and accepting like this is what the journey is. Like we're not here to control our children. We're not here to, force what the journey looks like, and it looks different for each and every one of us, and so I would say like just taking inventory, sitting down for like 5 minutes with yourself and just like looking to see like the things that kind of trigger you, like what makes you upset, and then really ask yourself what steps are you taking to actually like improve that for yourself. Like, is it communication with your partner? Is it being more present like when you're with your children, when they are having a meltdown? I mean, last night we just went through it, and I'm not perfect by any
Well,
means. I
yeah.
have my moments,
Yeah.
I mean, we repair is huge, we've been going through a phase kind of lately. My son is almost turning 5, and I've been kind of needing like my own downtime because like I've shared, like, I haven't had a break. I'm building business from home. And it's not necessarily that I want to break from him. It's all of the other responsibilities that come with it, right? And just doing it all on your own. And I think I feel like it's also such a healing like embodiment like practice when we also just accept that like we are not like our society is not set up to support mothers and
Oh
children. Like we
gosh.
are pushed away from just like we don't want our kids to be attached. We don't want them to be healthy because what does that give back to society in what ways? Like what money is coming, is being put back into capitalism. And as we know, that's a whole other discussion. But I think there's just a lot of like rage when it comes to just like, okay, this is what it is. Like, where is our village? Where is the support? And it can be really frustrating when you're like, shit, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to show up in this moment? How am I supposed to handle this huge meltdown? And yes, I understand that it's obviously easier said than done, 9 times out of 10, of course, but our children need us they need us present with them to be able to handle their big emotions. And when we have those big emotions in response to them having the big emotions, that's not supporting their nervous system or our nervous system. So again, it really just comes back to like where are we wanting to create those changes and like being mindful of it. And I really do feel like it is so simple, but we just have to actually practice it. And that's where I think a lot of mothers struggle with it. And for me, I just feel that knowing how important secure attachment is, and them feeling, my son, of course, particularly feeling safe in his own body, like his knowing that I have such a huge part in how he remembers when he's older, because those first several years are so pertinent, and it's all subconscious, it's all in the body. So like our body keeps score. So yeah.
I am loving this, and that was just, like, the first question.
Yeah, I
What
know, it's so
It's so deep and it's so, invigorating. I feel like once I started to learn all of this is when, like, motherhood got really lovely. Like, I feel like, honestly, I didn't enjoy motherhood. I'm gonna be frank, before I realized all of this and healed
Mm,
myself, and I am I love that you healed yourself before you had your child, because I feel like the balancing I kind of am still going through it, the balancing act of, healing myself, but expanding, but co-regulating. But I agree. I think the expectations of mothers is just unreal. And I actually worked for a corporate organization and didn't even have a maternity leave. So I am like a big proponent and of just supporting mothers, who want to work, great. And if that's going to be the structure that we have, then we have to have a supportive structure, but also like I do truly believe that that hindered my son and abandonment issues whenever I dropped him off at the daycare. And now I have recently quit my corporate job, but being home with him, like, and healing that wound has been just such a journey, let's say. Like, it's made me
Mm,
so much better as a mom and as a mentor to my clients, but also it's like I would have loved to not have to go through that, but that's obviously just not life. You have to, trials and tribulations, right? To go
right,
through it all.
right. Well, congratulations on quitting the job, because I know that yeah, that's a big that's a big piece of it. Yeah, it's really coming into like ourselves and recognizing like we're not here to perform. Like,
Seriously. And we're put on this planet to be mothers. Like, that's where I'm like, I had to take, like, a step back. And also, like, the sleep thing, like, everybody's like, "How's your baby sleeping?" I'm like, "Oh, he's not sleeping." Like, he's, 17 months old, and my husband and I are still going in his room at night, and, like, we're just accepted life how it is. But I realize now, like, the wounds from that and, like, why he needs so much support and, that at night. Um, so anyways, I could go on a tangent forever
it's
of that.
no,
But
I know it's true. Yes, yes, but this all comes back to our nervous system.
yes. So how do fear-based parenting patterns quietly show up in everyday motherhood, for some of your clients or yourself of, being so aware, and even when a mom, deeply wants to do things differently. What does that look like?
I mean, I would say, we have to kind of work through the fear first. We have to really find like what are we consuming,
Mm,
who around us is, contributing to that fear. I mean, I had to set some really strong boundaries with, with family, with even friendships that just it is what it is, like ended, when I became a mom, because there just wasn't this, we weren't on the same page anymore. Like I was a different person, and we didn't share the same values, and I just wasn't going to, show up and like disown what I felt to be true in my heart and how I wanted to raise my son, right? So I think a big one is, yeah, we have to really limit and set those boundaries of like what we're consuming in our everyday lives, because when we can really step into the motherhood journey and be present with it and like what it is in all areas, like the chaos, the beauty, the messiness, the joy, like the frustrations, we can see that like there really doesn't need to be any fear. Like there just needs to be love and like being with our kids and raising our family how we choose to want to raise our families. And that's going to look different for everybody. But I think it's important, when you know how you want to raise your family, is really surrounding yourself with those that share the same sentiments, that share the same values and practices that you really want to, be in your journey, just like everyday life. So starting with the fear, we really have to be able to release that fear and that control of like, feeling like we need to control our children's behaviors, like they're just everything, because when that's where we get the power struggles, and that's where we find those, meltdowns happen. um creating that structure around like what works in your home, right? Like, so those meltdowns don't, they're going to happen. It's part of childhood, of course. But, again, nervous system regulation is also very much tied into nutrition. It's
Mm,
such a deep,
it is.
it's just, there's so many levels.
I love that you mentioned the input, and, like, who you surround yourself with and having to set some boundaries. Because 'cause I've had to do the same thing in my healing journey, and I say that I just told my in-laws the other day, I'm like, I'm not a judgmental person, like, I really
Right.
accept people, like, for who they are, like, I know everybody's, had their own journey, so very open-minded,
Yeah.
individual, but I will say I am a judgmental person whenever, like, based on their kids. Like, I do think that, like, you can tell a lot about the individuals on how their kids act. And I have set a pretty hard boundary that, like, my kids will not be associated with, kids that I don't believe are, going to bring out the best in my child, and why I have the control over it right now, like, I'm going
Right.
to do that. But, I think, like, big picturesque, like, people do need to take, a, like you said, like, an inventory of, like, who's putting, those beliefs maybe in them, or if they're, not parenting, the way that they want to parent, then, like, you will probably have to, walk away or limit, play dates, or, whatever that is. I think that's such a crucial part of, the healing journey. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that. Um, what are some tools that are you like your favorite, or mechanisms that you love to regulate either like your nervous system or your son's nervous system too that you found success in?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I admittedly don't do this as often as I would like, because of course I go in phases too, right? But
Totally.
like getting down on their level and like being silly. So like if my son's having a hard time, let's say he's like wants to throw something, or he's, just getting frustrated, I'll just start being silly. Like I'll get goofy with him, and or I might start tickling him, or I might like just trying to like move my body and just like make funny faces, or so that a lot of the times will, but you have to kind of, if they're already in full blown meltdown mode, then that's obviously that approach is not necessarily going to work. You kind of have to catch it in the beginning, of course. But movement, like just again like dancing, putting
Mm,
on a song sometimes. Another one which, it may not feel, safe for others, but for me, like when I'm having a moment, like I'll say to my son, like, okay, mommy needs to scream for a second, and we'll just have like a scream fest, like I'll just be like, and just start, because that's a way for me to kind of like let out my frustration, but not taking my frustration out on him, and communicating to him like, I'm frustrated right now, mommy needs to scream for a second, like, so I'm not doing it at him. I'm not yelling at him, and I'm not freaking out on him because he's, you know, doing something that's going to frustrate me. And those are just like in the moment, of course, practices. One that just a huge mindfulness piece is the meditation, which, it doesn't have to be like sitting in silence either. It can literally be, washing the dishes. It can be mopping the floor. Like that can be your meditation, and just like being with whatever it is that you're doing. And I will say something that I kind of just stumbled upon, not stumbled upon, but I think just, being a mom almost 5 years in, of course I have a little bit more experience, in the sense that I've, been doing it for a few years, right? So I've found like what works and what doesn't work. And something that I've found to be really helpful is, which I did a lot in the beginning, I feel like in the first 2 years, is not concerning myself with like making sure the house is clean like all day, like setting that
mm,
time like at the end of the day, especially because I'm stay at home, like I'm home with him full time. So if I'm going to constantly be picking up after him every 20 minutes, that's going to frazzle my nervous system.
Mhm.
That's going to, because I'm constantly like, I'm on the go. I'm not just being like, I'm not. So really just like finding a routine that works for you too, like a structure. So like maybe, just getting to the dishes and cleaning up at the end of the day after your children have fallen asleep. Um, just like setting aside, a specific day to maybe do laundry, like, and unless it's dire that there's, an outfit that they have to wear that needs to be washed, like you don't necessarily have to do it every day. So just like things like that, just getting a little bit more organized, which kind of helps your overall like mental, your mental and emotional health. But meditation is, I mean, I meditated again like before I became a mom, so I had a huge practice before and I knew the benefits of it. So carrying that over into my parenthood was, it was kind of just like a no-brainer to me. It just looks different now. When my son was little, I'd put headphones on and I'd
Yeah.
meditate. Sometimes I'd have a guided meditation and he would hear it.
Mhm.
So it just depended,
I
you know?
love that, and the fact that you said, like, meditation is not the headphones and, like, a guy like, there's just so many versions of meditations, and, I mean,
Yes,
I think that everybody needs to start somewhere, so, like, I started with just, like, a 5-minute meditation, that was guided,
exactly.
and you start to get more confident, so, I
Yes,
just think, like you said, dishes, and that's such a great way to look at it, while you're, doing dishes, like, maybe just, think of things that you're just grateful for, or like something along the lines of that as like meditation. And I feel like one thing that I've done that's really helped me is I've designated like each day of the week has its own like embodiment. So like Monday is I call it like
right.
my badass mom day. So like that day, like I'm doing all things like I'm just a badass mom. Like Tuesdays are my CEO day, and Wednesdays are my another badass mom days. Thursdays are my work from home mom day. So I'm like juggling both business and motherhood. And then Friday I call my goddess day. So that's like where I'm not doing any laundry. I'm just doing
Yep,
like everything out of enjoyment. And like that's
yep,
something that has like super regulated my nervous system. Just to know that I'm not having to be a mom like like I'm a mom every single day, but you know what I mean by that.
right.
Like
I
it's
know what
just
you mean. Yeah,
different. The mundane is, you know, not there. So,
exactly. Yes.
I love
It's
it, and
huge.
getting your kids involved too with the meditations. I know my
Yes,
we bought, a tone one of those little Tony things that, like, they are kids' meditations, and I'm like my daughter loves it, so I'm like, get them involved early of, like, what that is because it's going to benefit
yes.
them. I feel like I've not met a successful person that hasn't done meditation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that all of those that are consciously in business, because we also know that there's a lot of people in business that are, yeah, we won't go there. But
Yep.
yes. But yes, though I don't know anyone that is not that does not have meditation as part of their practice, that, that doesn't practice a mindfulness lifestyle. And that doesn't, yeah, and that incorporates their kids, that teaches it to their children, whatever that looks like for them, implementing it however they do,
And
for
I
sure.
I love the tool human design. I have like a little like cheat sheet in my like I have like an ecosystem binder and it tells me like how everybody like their most desired way of being regulated. And it's just been like really
Mm.
great for in the moment minutes because like to keep that in my head is, not the best thing to do. So I have it on paper because I'm like, oh, this, kid is, likes to do this or whatnot. So
And you have
um,
three that you're
right,
you're
and a
learning there,
husband
and they're all
too.
going to have different one, right? And they all have different, yeah, different ways of that's going to feed their soul. So yes, it's a lot of navigating. So props to you, mama.
Yes, and, accepting that everybody regulates differently too, and
Exactly, right.
not a
That's,
one
yes,
size fits all. So,
exactly.
what is happening in a mother's nervous system when she knows, like, how to respond? Because I do think that a lot of moms out there, like, they know the how. but they still react in ways that she later regrets. What exactly is happening there, and how do you get over those? Because you said, "I'm not perfect either." Like, how do you get over those humps of maybe, falling back into the shadows?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me in my own practice, what I've recognized is, where am I not in alignment? Like, where am I not showing up for myself? And and just not having that grief. Um, and I feel like I'm gonna get emotional because it's this is part of being a mom. We have so much pressure on us, and I'm a mom that has been doing it all. So again, yeah, and for those mamas that are listening and probably feel like, you know, that you want to cry too, or maybe you are crying listening to me cry because you're feeling all the overwhelm, and you don't want to be a bad mom. It's you you have to just let whatever the situation is, whatever the moment was where you showed up dysregulated, you repair. You apologize. That's what I had to do with my son last night. That's what I did this morning. um and also explaining, of course, their age is going to play a big role in terms of like what they're going to understand. If they're a lot younger, between like under 1 or up to 2 or 3, it's going to look a lot different in how you're going to manage. I will say, uh, it looked a lot different then because there weren't as much to deal with or to handle, right? Well, like when your children are a little bit younger, at least that's what I found. Managing everything just seemed, because once they start getting older, they're their own little humans. They have a lot more to do and say and show up in this world. And um so you have to repair. You have to let go of the grief and the guilt, and just accept that, that this is, you want to do your best, and find those ways to show up and do your best. You have to start small. You're not going to necessarily, be able to start grandeur, if you're in a situation like mine, for instance, where you might not have all of those resources. So you start small. You figure it out. Maybe it's going outside in nature, taking a walk around the neighborhood, getting them out on their bike. We're a huge nature family, and lately for us it just hasn't been as much. So I
Mhm.
have to remember that, like, okay, like we're not living the lifestyle that we typically do. So it's natural that some of these other things are going to come up. So yeah, just accepting and releasing that and forgiving yourself. um and just finding that way that's gonna help you to be able to show up. I'm right here, boo. Here comes the little man. Surprised he
Yay!
hasn't come this whole time.
I know, I was surprised too. I completely agree. I think, like, once I started giving myself, a little bit more grace of, like,
Yes.
we're in this, 3D world, and like there's so much coming at us,
Yes.
constantly as mothers, and so much in our heads that we have to keep, organized. Like you said, like you got to give yourself a break. And I feel like this journey of, like, healing and regulation, like it doesn't get easier. It just, you get better at bouncing back. Do you agree with that?
Yes, it's not that. And you get more talented at it, just like any practice makes perfect, right? So you just get to a point where, like, yeah, you can an incident happens, and yeah, mommy will be done in a few. I love you. But yeah, I mean, you're just able to kind of show up differently, and yeah, come back quicker. And then you don't have like that long periods of like feeling that guilt. Like, you're able to forgive yourself quicker. Like, and then I feel like too, then you're able to handle those more extreme situations, because life is gonna life. And things are gonna happen, especially in today's world. We don't know what it's gonna look like, and we're moving through very chaotic and stressful times. And if we don't take a step back and really focus on what's most important, our families, and what we can do in our own inner worlds, it I mean, because we can't control what's going on, and especially for us mom bosses, like what ways we can contribute to be able to give back to make the world a better place, and then we don't have to focus on all of the ickiness. That's a big piece because I think there's a lot of worry for a lot of moms right now in the state of the world. So it's turn it off, like focus on what you can control, your four walls in your own home. And that for me, I've always said, like, it starts at home. It happens at home. It all, like, those are the only places that you can control, quote unquote, is what happens. This is in your own family.
I agree. I feel like once I like peeked behind the curtain and realized you had mentioned this earlier is like the accountability piece of like you are really setting the tone of the household as the mother. Like I really
Yeah.
truly believe that. And I used to, I don't always favor like hearing like, my kids acting this because of this. And I'm like, now I realize like my kid acts, the way that they act is a reflection of me as an individual. And I think like that is like where things start to shift too. And honestly, I think that's it was a little scary for me at first. And like I got, super sappy and like super sad because, I'm like, oh my gosh, like all of their problems are because of me. But now I look at it as like such empowerment. Like I'm like,
Yes, I was
hell
just gonna
yes,
say.
all their problems are because of me, and you know what? I have the power to change them too, though, like, so that's where
Exactly.
I've
Right.
completely changed my mindset on that.
Yes, yeah, mine, and the mindset is huge. You have, I mean, women are powerful. We are the matriarchs. Like we have. I mean, we dictate. Do you want peace or chaos? I mean, yeah, sure, you're gonna have chaos, especially if you have little ones. But do you want your home to be more peaceful, or do you want your home to be more chaotic? I mean, at the end of the day, it's your choice, and we all get to choose.
I love that tremendously. So, well, I have loved every minute of this, and I want you to share where my audience can find you to follow along your journey. If they want to, if you have any offers or resources, share that. I will obviously link what you sent me in the show notes, but go away.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so you can find me on Threads. I'm Amanda Lee official. It's Amanda underscore Leigh underscore official. I'm most active on Threads and TikTok. I kind of took a little hiatus, but I'm getting back. My TikTok is Divine Mamahood. And I have a Raising Regulated Humans, a guide, a transmission, that really goes into more depth of everything that we talked about today. It's on pre-sale right now. Um, Hopefully sooner than later it will be launching. So I'm almost done getting it officially out to the world. But your pre-sale just really helps support the finishing touches and the last minute creations of this, and supporting a mama, getting it out there for all those families that could really use the support. And that's digital. And then I also I opened a chamber connection portal, I guess, if you will, for four moms, aligned mamas whom really just want like a safe space to kind of be in a circle of other women and really just kind of get that more one-to-one integration, and just really kind of being able to show up as a woman that you really want to be, connecting to your intuition. And yeah, so that's just really kind of a more intimate space, and I don't really offer those very much anymore because I've really been kind of taking different approaches, and just so much going on, right, as a mom and a business owner. So if this does speak to you, there is an application. You can reach out to me directly and I can send that to you. And yeah, I think that's basically it. My DMs are always open if you ever just want to ask me a question. Yeah, I'm here. So I just want all moms to know that we are so powerful, and we are the mothers that our babies chose for us, and we really are imperfectly perfect in their eyes, and we really can do no wrong, and we just but we have to do the inner work. We have to show up, and if we really want our children to live healthy lives as adults, and to be in healthy relationships, and have healthy relationships with us as adults, like we have to put in the work and foster that in the early years. And yes, there's always room for repair, but why not do it now? Why not just put in the effort and the work now? Because I like to say that you're investing in generations and generations. Like, spending $20,000 to invest in supporting your family it's a lifetime investment, and it will reap benefits that you couldn't even imagine. It's so I really would just love to see more women and even men investing more into their families, because it's huge. It's everything.
I agree completely. I feel like, unfortunately, this world has made us very selfish beings and has taken away from our families,
Yes.
and our children are suffering tremendously right now, and they need us more than ever, and
Hmm.
your work is just beautiful, and I think being conscientious about, what nervous system is so important. And I saw this Instagram, like, the other day, and it was like, the toddler baby phase is literally 2% of your life, and I was like, "Okay, well, I can suffer a little bit without sleep for 2% of my life," you know what I mean?
It's
I know that these everybody says, "These are the best days of your life. You're gonna wish that, these, days are back." And I'm like, now I truly believe them. I used to be like, "Yeah, right. I'm not getting any sleep right now." Like, "Yes, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. Yes, yes, I'm losing sleep constantly, but also it's the most, like, beautiful thing ever is, like, these humans are, I'm getting to craft them." Like, I just think that that's so cool
I miss it so much, and I have the chills right now. Like, it's just, yeah, to be able to just cherish it, and just be in it, and yeah,
and be happy
it's
in it
everything. Yeah.
for sure.
And for me, that's, yeah, I mean, I could have chose to be bitter and angry, and just and I chose not to be. I wasn't gonna let what somebody else I wasn't going to let any of that dictate how I was going to show up in my motherhood. I was not going to let myself or my son be robbed of that. And I feel very blessed and grateful that I chose that path, because I see a lot of mothers that choose other paths. And I just yeah, my hope is just for all moms to just recognize how beautiful this journey is, and we just have to find our way along it. And I believe that we all can. It's there. It's just a matter of bringing her out, and it's possible for every single one of us.
And well, you are such a beautiful soul, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And I
Thank
am
you.
sure that this will resonate with a lot of women in, I know, my audience. So I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we will talk soon.
Yes, sounds great. Thank